Hi, everybody. I had a couple questions about this problem in the homework, so I wanted to go over this with you just to explain how you do this on MyMathLab. So the question was that you have this function f of x, and eventually we're going to estimate the intervals over which the function is increasing or decreasing and find any maxima or minima. But to begin this problem, first we have to graph the function, and we're going to graph this on MyMathLab. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click to enlarge this graph, and then I have to graph this. So you have to pick what you're graphing. So you should know by now that the graph of this, and if you didn't, you can type it in your calculator and look, but you should know that it's going to be a U that looks like this. So I'm going to click on this tool first, and then you'll notice it says select 3 points. So I have to pick 3 points to graph this. So to select those points, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in different values. So for example, if I plug in 0, 0 squared plus 0 minus 15 will be negative 15. So when x is 0, y is negative 15. I'll graph that point. And now it looks like a line, but we're going to graph 2 more points. Now the next point, we'll plug in, I'm going to plug in easy numbers that I can easily graph. So I'll plug in 1. So I'm going to plug that in my calculator into the equation, or you can do it in your head. So I'm going to multiply 2, or first, I'm doing 1 squared, then plus 2 times 1, and then minus 15. And you get negative 12. So when x is 1, then y is negative 12. So 1, negative 12. Now I need one more point. So I'm going to pick, I don't know, negative 1. So I'll do the same thing, except I'm going to plug in negative 1. So when x is negative 1, we'll plug that back into the equation. And the answer is negative 16. So when x is negative 1, y is negative 16. So we'll plug that in here, save this graph, and we'll check the answer. And now we're ready to check for those, the maxima and the minima, and when the function is increasing or decreasing. So the key to the graph, remember, is to graph 3 points. And you can find those points by plugging in values. You can plug anything in you want, but I would recommend you keep the numbers easy. Plug in 0, 1, and negative 1 every time. Okay, so now it says determine on which intervals f of x is increasing. So the function is increasing, it looks like, from when it's at negative 1 until it goes to infinity. So I'll click this interval, and this is negative 1, and we'll plug in infinity. And then says determine on which intervals f of x is decreasing. Well, it's decreasing from negative infinity until we get to negative 1. And then it asks us, determine the relative maxima or minima. So the maximum value, there isn't one. So you can see that this is going on forever to infinity. So there's no relative max. And then it asks for the relative minimum. Well, the minimum is this value right here. So the minimum is negative 16, and it occurs when x is negative 1. Okay, that's all there is to it. I hope this helps.